They told you to be patient. They told you to wait your turn. But no one told you what to do when your turn never comes. You ever feel like you're running in place while the whole world passes you by? You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're stuck. And it's not your fault. But staying stuck, that's on you. And today, that ends. Because by the time this is over, you won't just have motivation. You'll have a blueprint, a strategy, an escape plan. Now listen closely, because this may be the last time you ever feel this lost. You didn't stumble into this trap. You were led here slowly, silently, over years of subtle programming. Not by villains, not by tyrants, but by well-meaning voices who themselves were trapped and didn't know it. They told you to be realistic. They told you to know your place. They taught you to color inside lines that were never meant to hold your spirit. And over time, without even realizing it, you accepted a life that was smaller than the one you were born for. This trap doesn't come with bars. It comes with comfort. And that's what makes it so dangerous. You don't fight comfort. You embrace it. It wraps around you like a warm blanket and convinces you that ambition is arrogance, that dreaming is delusion, that playing it safe is the honorable path. But comfort is not safety. It's sedation. It numbs your urgency. It lulls you into routines that look productive, but keep you exactly where you are. Imagine a lion born in a zoo. He grows up behind glass and fences. He's fed at the same time every day. He never has to hunt, never has to fight, never has to struggle. And he forgets. He forgets the hunt, forgets the roar, forgets the wilderness in his blood. That's what this trap does to you. It convinces you that the cage is your home, that surviving is the same as living, and here's the sinister part. It rewards you just enough to keep you quiet. A steady paycheck, a weekend off, a like on a post. Just enough dopamine to keep your dreams on life support. But deep down, you feel it. That gnawing voice that whispers, "This isn't it." That's not your laziness talking. That's your soul trying to wake you up. Psychologically, this is called learned helplessness. When you're conditioned to believe that no matter what you do, nothing changes, eventually you stop trying. You accept the trap. You normalize it. You tell yourself it's not so bad, even though every fiber in you screams for more. The job you dread, the relationship that drains you, the goals you keep postponing. That's not life. That's slow spiritual erosion. But the moment you see the trap, really see it, it begins to lose its power, because what's visible can be confronted. What's named can be changed. So name it. Call out the ways you've been trained to play small. Notice the routines that no longer serve you. Pay attention to the lies you've repeated so often they now sound like truth. Because the first key to freedom is awareness. And once you know you're trapped, once you see the cage for what it is, the fire inside you has no choice but to rise. You weren't born to be managed. You were born to build, to lead, to blaze a trail so bold they'll ask how you escaped. And your answer will be simple. I saw the trap, and I chose to burn it down. Busyness is a seductive lie. It feels like progress. It looks like purpose. But often it's just noise in disguise. People run from task to task, meeting to meeting, message to message. Not because they're building something great, but because they're terrified of facing what they've neglected. The silence that asks, what are you really doing with your life? Motion is not progress. A rocking chair moves, a treadmill spins, but neither takes you anywhere. The world has confused activity with achievement, pace with purpose. You respond to emails, clear notifications, attend back-to-back Zoom calls, and at the end of the day, collapse into bed exhausted, but unchanged. And that is the real tragedy, to sweat without direction, to move without meaning. Thomas Edison wasn't just active, he was intentional. He failed over 1,000 times in his pursuit to create the light bulb, but each effort was measured, tested, refined. He didn't mistake movement for mastery. He embraced failure because it pushed him closer to his aim. Every step he took was tied to a vision. Contrast that with the modern worker who refreshes inboxes like it's salvation, who scrolls for inspiration but never creates, who fills the day with motion and calls it ambition. But motion without vision is erosion. It wears you down, drains your time, dulls your spirit. You end up mistaking the race for the destination. Psychologically, this happens because our brains reward completion, not depth. Every small task finished gives a dopamine hit. So we chase the easy win. We fill the day with shallow triumphs and postpone the hard, meaningful work that actually changes our lives. We become addicted to checking boxes, not building legacies. Ask yourself this: if you repeated today's actions every day for a year, would you be any closer to your dream? If the answer is no, then you are not progressing. You are merely surviving. It takes courage to slow down and face the truth, to admit that your busyness is a mask, that the chaos of your day is not a result of ambition, but avoid. Because if you slowed down, truly slowed down, you'd have to confront the void, and that scares most people more than failure. But here's where power begins: in clarity, in stillness, in ruthless evaluation of whether your current path leads anywhere worth going. Hill once said, "Success requires no explanations. Failure permits no alibis." Let that sink in. No more alibis. No more confusing motion with meaning. Be brave enough to cut the tasks that don't move you forward. Be disciplined enough to define what forward actually means. You don't need a busier schedule. You need a bolder vision, and the courage to align every action, every motion to that vision, because only then does movement become momentum, and only then do you escape the illusion and finally start rising. Somewhere deep down, you're still waiting for someone to nod, to clap, to say, "Now you're ready." You think that before you launch, you need a mentor's approval, that before you speak, someone must grant you credibility, that before you chase what burns in your chest, the world must first open its arms and say, "You belong." But listen closely. No one is coming to rescue you. No one is arriving with a permission slip, because the authority you seek has always lived within you, buried beneath years of hesitation, fear, and false humility. You've been trained to ask for permission since childhood. Ask before you speak. Ask before you move. Ask before you believe in yourself. But success does not belong to the obedient. It belongs to the bold, the self-ordained, the ones who realize that greatness is not granted, it's claimed. Look around. The most influential people in history, those who bent the world in the direction of their vision, none of them waited for applause to begin. Oprah wasn't qualified to build a media empire when she started. Steve Jobs had no degree in innovation. Maya Angelou had no official title when she spoke truth that shook the soul of a nation. They didn't wait to be told they were enough. They acted like they already were. Psychologically, this hesitation stems from what researchers call imposter syndrome, the internalized belief that you're not truly worthy of the opportunity in front of you, and it festers in silence. You begin to fear being found out, so you play small to stay safe. You hide your gifts in the name of humility, when in truth, it's fear wrapped in politeness. But here's the breakthrough. Confidence is not a prerequisite. It's a result. It's not something you're given. It's something you build by stepping into the fire and proving to yourself that you belong. The act of doing is what grants you the right to keep going. There will never be a perfect time. There will never be a round of applause before you act. The applause comes after you dare to move, after you risk being misunderstood, doubted, or even mocked. That's the price. And those unwilling to pay it stay stuck, forever circling the dream, but never touching it. Hill taught this principle plainly. Do not wait. The time will never be just right. Start where you stand, and that, my friend, is the formula. You do not need more proof, more time, more applause. You need a decision, a full, unapologetic commitment to yourself. So stop waiting for the world to give you a green light. The light has been green since the day you had the idea. Declare yourself ready, then walk like it, speak like it, act like it. Because the truth is, permission isn't something you ask for, it's something you take, the moment you finally believe you never needed it. You are not just a product of your decisions, you are a product of your surrounding, the environment you live in, work in, think in, and breathe in. It is either shaping you for greatness or sedating you into mediocrity. And the most dangerous part, most people never notice, because comfort feels like safety, familiarity feels like love, and over time, The very people and places that once supported you become the invisible ceiling above your potential. Your environment is a silent architect. It builds your habits, your thoughts, your expectations. If you surround yourself with small minds, your dreams will shrink to fit the room. If you constantly hear excuses, doubt, gossip, you start to echo it without realizing. You may think you're immune, but the human brain is a mirror. It reflects the dominant energy that surrounds it. Hill knew this well. In Think and Grow Rich, he wrote, "Every man is what he is because of the dominating thoughts he permits to occupy his mind." But he went further. He studied the circles of the world's most successful people. And what did he find? They didn't just guard their thoughts. They engineered their environments with ruthless precision. Consider Henry Ford. He deliberately surrounded himself with thinkers, engineers, inventors, not yes-men, not comfort seekers. When critics laughed at his horseless carriage, he didn't flinch, because his environment wasn't feeding fear, it was fueling belief. He understood what most never grasp, that your surroundings either expand you or extinguish you. And it's not just people, it's the books on your shelf, the podcasts you listen to, the desk you work at, the room you sleep in. It's the energy of your spaces, the tone of your conversations, the tone of your thoughts when you walk into those spaces. Psychologically, this is known as environmental priming. Your brain subconsciously adapts to cues in your surroundings. Sit in a cluttered, noisy space, and your thinking becomes scattered. Surround yourself with negative voices, and your inner dialogue begins to match. You become what you're immersed in. That's not opinion, that's science. So ask yourself, does your environment reflect the future you want, or the past you're afraid to let go of? Be honest. Are you in a cage that looks like comfort, a circle that calls your ambition too much, a place where your growth makes others uncomfortable? Then it's time to choose, because this isn't about judgment, it's about alignment. You don't need to hate your past to outgrow it, but you do need to stop bowing to it. Change your space, change your inputs, change your company, even if it's lonely at first. Loneliness on the path to greatness is better than belonging in a room built to keep you small. Remember, a rocket cannot launch in a garage. It needs open sky. And so do you. So rise, break the wall, and let your environment reflect your destiny, not your doubt. You've been lied to. You were told to wait until you have a plan, until you're certain, until you have clarity. But the harsh truth is this: clarity is not a prerequisite for action. It is a result of it. You don't think your way into confidence. You act your way into certainty. Most people spend their lives trapped in the waiting room of purpose, endlessly analyzing, overthinking, and second-guessing. They wait for the fog to lift before they take a step, not realizing the fog only lifts when you move through it. The first steps are supposed to feel messy, unsure, awkward. That's not a sign you're failing. That's a sign you're beginning. There's a reason the world's greatest achievers didn't have perfect clarity when they started. They had urgency. They had dissatisfaction. They had that quiet rage inside that said, I can't keep living like this. And so they moved, even when the path wasn't clear. Especially then. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper because he lacked imagination. He didn't have a business plan. He had sketches, scraps, and a dream. He didn't wait for clarity. He created it, one risk, one failure, one step at a time. Imagine what would have happened if he waited for a perfect plan. Psychologically, we crave certainty because it feels safe. The human mind is wired to avoid the unknown. It associates uncertainty with danger. But growth lives in that very space. The uncertain, the undefined, the uncontrollable. Your brain might fight it, but your destiny demands it. Analysis paralysis is the death of dreams. You think you're being careful, but what you're really doing is hiding. Hiding behind "I'm still figuring it out." Because moving forward would force you to face the possibility of failure, or worse, success you don't feel ready for. But you will never feel ready. Not at first. And that's okay. Read any biography of any master. The story is the same. Confusion followed by movement, not the other way around. They didn't wait to become the person who knew. They became that person by doing. Hill said, "Do not wait. The time will never be just right." This is not motivational fluff. It's foundational truth. Your future doesn't arrive. It must be built. And you build it in motion, not in contemplation. So stop sitting in the library of your mind, trying to read the last chapter before you've written the first. Put pen to paper, make the call, launch the idea, say yes. You don't need the entire staircase. You just need one strong step. Because every action you take carves out the map. Every move you make reveals the next piece of the puzzle. And eventually the blur becomes the blueprint. Clarity isn't found, it's earned. So move, and let your vision rise to meet you. There comes a point in every man's life when the fire is gone, the light is dim, and all that's left is the echo of what could have been. That's hell, not flames, not torment, but the slow burning regret of unlived potential. And the only ladder out of that hell is discipline. Discipline is not sexy. It doesn't shout. It doesn't post highlight reels. It doesn't make you feel good in the moment, but it saves you. Because when motivation dies, and it will, only discipline remains to drag you forward. We are living in a culture addicted to ease, one that worships hacks, shortcuts, and life balance as if discomfort is evil. But Napoleon Hill said it clearly: self-discipline is the master key to riches. Why? Because every goal, every dream, every transformation demands a price, and discipline is the currency. Most people think they're stuck in life because of their circumstances, but more often, they're stuck because they've made an unconscious agreement with weakness. They don't feel like doing the work, and so they don't. They break the promise to themselves, not once, but daily. And over time, that habit carves a hole inside the soul. Let me tell you a story. In the early days of his career, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was broke, $7 to his name, no certainty, no backup plan, but he made a commitment to outwork everyone. Rain, shine, pain, fatigue. He showed up every single day, not because he felt like it, because he decided who he was, and let discipline back it up. Psychologically, discipline rewires your brain. Every time you override the emotional desire for comfort and take aligned action, you strengthen your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for executive function, future planning, and self-control. The more you train it, the more your default shifts from emotion-driven. Discipline literally turns you into someone new. But let's be clear, discipline is not about punishment. It's about protection, protecting your potential from the part of you that wants to sleep in, scroll mindlessly, or quit when things get hard. It's not self-abuse, it's self-respect, the highest form of self-respect. That's why every great mind, from Marcus Aurelius to Elon Musk, builds their day around structure. Because freedom without structure is chaos. It feels good for a while, until you realize your life is slipping through your fingers like sand. The man without discipline will always bow to his moods. But the man with discipline, he becomes inevitable. Because when your actions are no longer controlled by how you feel, you become unstoppable. So build the schedule, keep the promise, embrace the repetition. Not because it's glamorous, but because your future self is depending on you to climb. Discipline is the ladder. The rungs are made of sacrifice. And the top, that's the life you were meant for. But only if you earn it. Pain is not the enemy, it's the messenger. The signal that you are standing on the threshold of transformation. But most people turn back when pain knocks. They misread it. They think discomfort means something is wrong, when often, it means something is finally right. The moment you decide to rise, to change, to stretch beyond your limits, resistance shows up, and with it pain, physical, emotional, spiritual. It shows up not to destroy you, but to prepare you. Because nothing valuable is born without pressure. A diamond begins as coal. A phoenix rises from flame. And you are forged in the very fire you keep trying to escape. Think of the seed, buried underground, isolated in darkness, under pressure from the soil above. Does it curse the pain? No, it breaks, so that it can become. The cracking is not the end, it's the beginning. But from the outside, pain just looks like suffering. That's why so many never bloom. They give up during the cracking, they quit when it gets hard, not knowing that breakthrough lives just beyond breakdown. Let me tell you about Michael Jordan. After being cut from his high school basketball team, he went home and cried. That pain could have ended his story. Instead, it ignited it. He trained harder than anyone, used rejection as fuel, and became the greatest of all time. The pain didn't stop him. It birthed him. Psychologically, this is known as post-traumatic growth. The idea that through struggle, you don't just survive, you expand. Pain stretches your capacity, forces introspection, awakens parts of your mind and spirit that comfort will never touch. It turns suffering into strength. If you don't run from it, But that's the problem. We've been taught that pain is a problem to be fixed, not a passage to be walked through. We numb it, avoid it, delay it, and by doing so, we delay our evolution. Napoleon Hill understood this deeply. He wrote, "Every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. But here's the key, you only unlock that benefit if you stay with the pain long enough to learn from it." Pain is not a curse, it's a compass. It shows you where you need to go. It reveals what still needs healing, what still holds you back, what you're still afraid of. And once you face it, truly face it, it becomes your power. So the next time you feel like breaking down, don't break open, feel the fear, embrace the ache, let it teach you, let it mold you, and then stand taller because of it. Because if you're hurting, you're healing. If you're aching, you're arriving. And if it burns, you're close. Close to the fire. Close to the truth. Close to becoming the unstoppable force you were born to be. Every breakthrough begins with belief. Not in the world, not in the system, in yourself. Identity is the final lock, because it controls everything else. You will never rise beyond the limits of who you believe you are. The question is not what do you want. The question is, who do you think you are? You may have the goals, you may even have the vision, but if your self-image hasn't caught up, you'll sabotage your own success. You'll start a project and quit halfway through. You'll land the opportunity and find a way to lose it. Not because you're cursed, but because you're misaligned. Your external life can never outperform your internal identity. That's not philosophy, that's psychology. You act in accordance with the beliefs you hold about yourself. If you see yourself as someone who tries, you'll always try, but never transform. If you believe deep down that you're average, you'll reject greatness, even when it's placed right in your hands. Not consciously, subconsciously, because the mind always seeks consistency between your beliefs and your behavior. That's why change is so hard. It's not because you lack talent, it's because you're loyal to a version of yourself that no longer serves your future. Muhammad Ali understood this. Before the world ever called him the greatest, he decided he was. He spoke it, lived it, trained like it, not because it was arrogant, but because he knew the secret: the world doesn't believe in you until you do. Napoleon Hill called this auto-suggestion, the act of deliberately impressing a belief into your subconscious through repetition and action. Every thought you repeat becomes a blueprint. Every word you speak programs your future. And every decision either strengthens or weakens your identity. The problem? Most people are unconsciously reinforcing the wrong identity. I'm not good at that. I've always been this way. That's just who I am. These aren't facts. They're instructions. And your brain is following them like a loyal soldier. You don't break free by fighting your circumstances. You break free by rewriting your identity. Start small. Declare the person you want to become. Then act like them. Not once. Every day. Wake up and say, I am the kind of person who follows through, who shows up, who finishes. Then prove it to yourself. In private. When no one's watching. Because repetition creates reality. The shift is subtle at first. Then one day, it clicks. You no longer feel like an imposter wearing ambition, like a costume. You feel congruent. You become it. That's the final lock. Not time.
Yeah.
Not money. Not talent. Identity. And the key, it's been in your pocket the whole time. So stop waiting for someone else to hand it to you. Unlock the next version of yourself. Walk through that door, and never look back.